You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. And welcome back to the table. It is so good to see you as always, my sister. How you doing?
It is good to be seen, right? And not viewed.
Exactly.
That is what we say. We do not miss that moment so that people can appreciate the fact of just living in the moment and just being seen. It's okay to be seen.
Yes, it is.
I'm happy to be seen and not viewed.
Exactly. On such a beautiful day outside
as well. It is beautiful outside. Got my butterflies on today. Feeling renewed. Like just popped out of a cocoon, a whole chrysalis.
The metamorphosis.
You understand? Yes,
exactly.
Indeed.
But listen, it's hot though. I will say that. I don't know about y'all, but this summer heat is just.
I rather enjoy it. I was born in May, so this is like my time of the year. I'm off contract.
Give me a beach and some sand.
Paid. Like, come on now.
If I'm gonna have this heat, I need the beach and some sand. I just can't be hot just to be hot.
Well, we have those contraptions. My Sora and I have those contraptions where you can like sit inside with your fan.
We
and
are
be
not going to talk about y'all little pop-up tent no more. We're not going to give it any more time.
We believe in it. Anyway.
No more time. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to move along.
Flies out my food. That's all I'm saying while y'all sitting on them flies.
But anyway, we're back at the table.
Yes.
And I tell you, I'm excited about the conversation today with the guests that we have, you know.
I am really excited about our conversation today. The last several shows we've kind of had like one guest at a time so that we could really feature this. But we have guests today, it's like two that are like one. You know?
That's what they say.
You know,
that's
what that's like
say.
one.
I don't know. We're going to see.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out about the oneness, right? I think it's going to be good.
No, but I'm excited, you know,
yeah.
Because of course always having the opportunity to talk to couples and relationships, because that's one of the things that we really don't talk about at the table sometimes, and that's where I think
that's because that's where the secrets are.
Exactly.
People don't want to have those conversations.
Relationships fail because we don't talk about it. Because once again, it's just like mental health issues. Marriages suffer in silence.
Yes, indeed.
And you always think that everybody else, they're taking all these wonderful pictures on social media.
Don't believe the smiles.
It's so great.
Do
it's
not
so
believe
this.
the smiles.
You know, I tell folks, my wife don't like me every day. I know she don't. She smile at me.
Shout out to my
She kiss me and smile at me, but she don't like me every day, but she love me.
She's committed to the commitment, though.
Exactly.
And that's what's important.
Exactly. So I'm excited.
I'm excited about having this couple conversation, too. It's always good to have those conversations. These are things that people don't want to talk about at the table, but they need to talk about.
Exactly. So. Well, I'm going to go fix my plate. Well, I will say this. Y'all don't know, but I've already started my plate.
I have one in front of me, too. It doesn't have our traditional look there, so.
Nope, not at all. Different little buffet today, but it's very different.
So no bread and
no honey butter.
No
honey butter today.
Yeah.
No bread and no honey butter. But guess what? We're eating good.
Yes, we are. And we're going to have some good food in this good word that we're going to have from these good people in front of us today. So I want to welcome to the Sunday Brunch table Mr. Ricardo and Mrs. Kimberly Frost.
All right.
Hey,
thank you guys. Thank you for inviting us. Team Frost in the building.
Team Frost in the building. I have been trying to get Team Frost on the show for a minute, bro. But just like us, they've got a lot popping off, and like our schedule is trying to time it. But I believe in good timing.
Yes.
Exactly. All things happen in time.
In time.
In his time.
In his time.
At the right time.
And so I think we're going to have a good time.
Yes, we are. But I'm going to tell you this before, I'm going to say it on air. He going to leave that jacket here when he get up. That's all I'm going to say.
This is like the third time somebody tried to hijack me from my jacket.
And my mister has that jacket. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
So tell us about yourself. Tell us about Team Frost. How did you guys meet? You know, when was Team Frost established?
I know that's right.
Ooh. March 2nd, 2001.
Come on, that's what I'm talking
about. He say that because I always forget the year. He has it down packed, but today I think I did right.
You did good.
That's good. See, you know, I get the year right. I know the date, the year. I just don't do math well. You know what I'm saying? So I have to pull out fingers and toes. You know. So she's like, "We've been married 28 years."
Right.
Okay. Yeah, your math is math, and mine isn't. You know.
Right. Well, I've gotten better.
March 2nd, I can't tell you the date. Jesus.
Well, I go 3, 2, 1. So March 2nd, the third month, the second day in
She had
2001.
to put something to that.
Okay.
That's
So
good.
it makes it work.
Yeah.
I will not forget. I will forget. I will create a strategy.
I'll
so
create
that I will never forget.
exactly.
You worked it out.
I
Okay.
did.
That's all right. So what brought you two together?
The military. So my wife and I both are retired military.
So you were in formation.
We're Navy, so we'll know
So we
anything
don't
about
know
that.
about formation.
Yes,
We do
Navy folks.
quarters.
I was in the reserves. Paying attention.
Right. Facts.
So
That's
what?
awesome. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh,
Yes,
no
thank
problem. I
you.
appreciate that. We've been retired for a minute now.
I know, right? 2007 for me.
And 2011 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, but we met in Washington State.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it was I was actually stationed here in Virginia beforehand, got stationed over in the Washington State, and she just happened to be there. And so when I got to my new command in Washington State, if I could be completely transparent and honest with you, you don't see a whole lot of us.
Right.
There in Washington State, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So when I saw her at the organization and
You
at the command,
automatically stood out.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Look, listen, he stood out. He walked through the door. And that's actually the first thing came out of my mouth. Oh my Lord, another African American in the command, and you know they knew it. Yes.
Right.
So I mean, literally, there was like 4 of us.
Yeah, yeah, you get a handful. So when she said that, I was walking with this white guy, and I was just like, "Wow, she pretty bold. She pretty blunt with it." But
Yes. But him and I, we were friends as well. The Caucasian guy.
So I didn't know that.
He didn't know that.
I didn't know that they was cool like that. I was just like, wow,
like
okay.
she out of control.
But that was one of the things that kind of attracted me to her off the jump. I love her boldness. I loved how she was bold with what she said. So that was a key factor.
Yes.
Along with that beauty she got.
Well, praise God for the beauty.
All right.
Praise God for the beauty.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's funny because we always laugh about the fact that we were at this organization together and we met as far as us coming together because someone that I was seeing in the past actually invited us to a party for him, invited Ricardo and myself. He had just met Ricardo as well. And the place that they told us to show up for this party, guess what? He wasn't there. The guy that invited us. No one was there. We were the only 2 at this particular location at the bowling alley. Isn't that a full setup? So a guy that I was dating actually brought us 2 together, and we have been together ever since that meetup.
I don't even want to say. Nor do I want to ask.
Go ahead.
Ever cross your mind?
Anytime. We're an open book over here.
Yeah, we keep it 100. We keep it 100. But I thought it was pretty bizarre that her ex-boyfriend would invite me to a place that she was going to be. And when we get there, nobody showed up.
Nobody.
So
it was his birthday party. Nobody was there.
Wow.
It was whose birthday party?
The ex.
Oh, that was already set up. He didn't want you to be at his birthday party.
Right,
but he didn't realize his setup was a come up.
A come up, right? Come on.
You better believe it.
Girl, yes.
Want you there.
Listen, and it was good.
Ain't God good?
Yes, it is.
25 years later.
Oh, that was a good setup.
That's right. And we don't miss it either.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I met her at the bowling alley. And then,
Can't handle the truth.
So this is the other funny part to this story, right? So we sat at the bowling alley, we talked for a little bit, and so we was like, you know what, I'm hungry. I didn't really want the bowling alley food, so we like, okay, do they got a soul food spot here? She's like, yeah, they got this place called Soul Brothers. So we go to this place called Soul Brothers, and Soul Brothers was trash.
You can't be saying that on the radio.
I told you I keep it 100. I'm keeping it 100. The food was, it sounded like I mean, just like they talk about in rap a lot, the chicken tastes like wood.
Right.
But yeah, the
Soul
food was
ain't had no
terrible.
soul.
Ain't had no soul. So I was like, look, this ain't gonna
It
work
was
for me.
dead.
And so this is what she did. She was like, babe, I mean, well, she wouldn't
It
call me
wasn't
babe
babe
in.
in.
Yeah, she was like, well,
She's like,
she's like,
clarify.
listen,
Yeah.
well, you know, I do a little cooking or whatever. So, you know, if you want to come through and I make some chicken or whatever, then, you know,
All right.
you can eat some of that. So she made the chicken.
She said, I already know my chicken is better than
Oh,
this.
listen, her chicken
Right.
was banging. I love her chicken to this day. That's probably why I got this pounds that I got on me now.
Oh,
Yes.
he ain't never leave.
That was it.
Wasn't going
Feed them
nowhere.
and they will stay. Yes. And we've
Tip
been
number one.
No lies told.
no lies
Tip number
told.
one. Make them happy.
That's it.
Move.
That's good. I like that. Make them happy. And they
Keep
can-
us happy.
God ain't smiling at you right now.
Keep us
I think
happy.
him
Right.
laughing.
right. But yeah, that's kind of how we ended up together. Somebody else's accident.
You had to retire from the military because you can't meet your requirements if you keep eating all that fried
I'm
chicken.
trying to tell you.
Right. Well, we were good today. We actually retired on time.
Yeah, we did.
didn't gain all this hefty.
Probably within the
this
last-
love pounds. Yeah, these last few
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell people the truth.
Yeah.
When you fall in love, you gain some pounds.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah,
fact.
that's real.
Yes, we call it happy fat.
Yeah. Happy fat, baby.
Well, I guess I'm real happy.
And listen, don't get it twisted now. We ain't all out of control with it.
No.
But
Y'all can't see them, so no, that's
That's
not what,
right.
that's not at all what we're
Yeah.
speaking
Right.
on.
yes,
Right.
but it's
This
the
is all
truth
in
though. When
check.
you're happy, you're not really thinking about it. We're going out to eat all the time.
Ain't
We
got
just having
nobody to
fun,
impress.
enjoying each other. We in love and we gaining it together. But now,
Right.
you know, we got to get it together because
Right.
we also want to be healthy because we are doing a lot and we realize that we need to get ourselves in shape so
And
we
the
can
stamina
continue.
to be able
Right.
to
That's
maintain
exactly
that,
it.
to be able to get up and get down because I mean I'm over 40.
Come on.
So we already talked at our last show how when we get up we got to stretch.
Yes.
Right.
Things don't move the way they used to move.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
have to be more cautious. Like
That's
when you're
right.
younger, you're living in just the right now kind of moment.
Sure.
But you're not even like aware of what could potentially happen. It happens to other people. It doesn't
That's
happen
right.
to me.
Right.
But as you get older, you realize that you are those other people.
That's right.
And it's happening to you. So
That's right.
Yeah, you got to
Exactly.
take care of each other.
Absolutely. We do. We try our best.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So here we are. We retired from the military.
Yes.
So you retired from the military to do what?
Well, actually, I
Are y'all
retired-
together? You're together at that point.
Absolutely, we
Yeah.
are, and we were dual military, as we said earlier. I retired before he did, but I felt like we had this call. I was like, "What am I going to do when I get out?" I heard the good Lord said, "Train some people in cybersecurity," because that's what we did in the military.
Okay.
What year was that?
That was 07.
Oh, yeah.
so it
So
had just
Ooh,
it
that
just
was
kicking
really
off.
good.
IT
Yeah.
I
just
wish
kicking
I
off
had
strong.
invested in y'all in
Exactly.
2000.
And I'll tell you, I was the only African American woman in the workplace in that cyber realm, and it was like two African American males, but everybody else was of different race. And so they would even say, you know, we got to get this opened up to be a little broader. And I told Ricardo, I was like, I just feel like the Lord wants us to train people on IT. We have all these skills, all these knowledge, this knowledge. Let's go and find people that maybe not even able to afford to get the classes and the training they need, and we offer it at a lower cost. And that's what kicked off RFK Solutions. We opened up in Suffolk in 2012, May the 2nd, actually. May
Yeah,
2nd, that number 2, May 2nd, we opened up. And from there, we started training the lower income, and we end up getting a contract with the federal government to train federal folks. And then we said, wait a minute, this might be what God wanted after all. We train the federal folks, we make the ends from that, and we were able to subsidize training some of the lower income minorities through some of the
Because you were willing to give.
absolutely
You were able to receive.
we were able to give based off of some of that. So we tell people often we'll give ourselves broke sometimes, just trying to make sure that we help and do everything that we believe we've been called to do in this here
That's
earth.
nice.
But see, that's something when
That's beautiful.
your work becomes your ministry, then it's really not work at all.
That's joy, isn't it?
It's
That's why
joy.
they're happy over there.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You
It's-
wake up and you're like ready to do what you do.
Absolutely.
I never drag my feet to come to the show. Because I know it's always going to be some good food and some good conversation. When you know what you can anticipate, you can't wait to get there.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is for us. So when the struggle is real, we keep working and pushing because we know that what we're doing is going to benefit others in the educational piece of cyber. And we also believe that God had opened us up as we were doing this. We noticed that there were a lot of couples that were in business, they were in working, influential people, but they had no relational time together as far as marriage and didn't know how to have that relational time. So doing cybersecurity, we started believing that God wanted us to incorporate some time with married folks and bringing them together to just even fellowship. And that's how it started off. We started fellowshipping together with married folks and having little things.
If you're married, you got to have married friends.
You have to.
Yeah.
You got to have some married friends.
Can't do what them single folk do.
Come on. You cannot
That
do
mentality.
It's completely different.
It'll change your life.
Listen, that part, I'm telling you, having married friends is almost like a requirement when you're married, because you don't want to introduce any type of temptation to the relationship that you have that's already solid, right?
Right.
You don't want to bring any of that into it.
Better
But
speak that.
yeah. So I think, if you do have single friends, you and your wife or you and your husband need to make a true agreement that, hey, this is my friend, and you already know who that person is, and they need to know and be honest and be careful with who they are. You know what I mean? Know who they are and be comfortable with them.
Right, exactly. Because you want single friends that support your marriage.
That's good.
Exactly.
That's the reality of it all.
Sure.
Because at the same time, they can sit back and watch and help keep you in check as well. You follow me?
Another barometer.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they should see your marriage. If marriage is what they aspire to be, then they should be able to see the positive side of marriage in you, and not necessarily say, oh, no, you need to leave her, you need to leave him. No, they need to support that.
They have to be a part of the accountability process.
Yes.
I love it.
Absolutely. And we actually have a single lady, she's a pastor that does things with us, because in our marriage ministry, it usually it's just all of us married folks, but then we start hearing single people say, hey, can you invite us to some of the things that you're hosting, because we desire to be married.
Exactly.
So they started coming and participating, but they would serve on that end to help us put the events together, and then they glean from what we're talking about and what we're doing because they're participating and they're there. But we do, like you said, we have one mentor. She's actually a mentor to Ricardo and I. We've known her for some time, and she just does that, holds us accountable.
Right.
Definitely. And having those, like you said a minute ago, having those couples come together, it allows us also, it may be 10 or 15 of us, but out of that, there's going to be 2 or 3 couples that you can connect with, and you guys can become accountable to one another and help hold your marriages together. And that's what we try to push as well when it comes to the couple.
But, my wife and I, we talk to other people. Like, the joke is, we love one another, we come together, we talk about things, and having that effective communication is key.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that I ain't going to like her every day, she's not going to like me every day. We're going to respect one another, respect our marriage. That's the bottom line. And
I like Kelly every day.
you don't live with her. But look, let me tell you. Here's the thing. We have married friends.
Yeah.
Okay? And we started traveling together, going places, doing things.
That's what we do. Yes.
And one of the things that we do during this time, we talk, we have discussions, we have transparent moments with one another. And the beauty and the blessing in it is you find that, you're not the only one going through this situation, raising kids and feeling like, Lord, I want to choke this kid.
Yes.
Why am I the only one dealing with this? Everybody else's kids seems to be soaring.
Yes.
You only hear about the time they soar. You haven't heard about the time where they were on the ground and crawling and falling and everything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so being in this place and being able to talk about the challenges of marriage and work and church, just the balance of everything is very helpful. So that is awesome.
And that's exactly what you're saying is exactly what we do. We take trips together. We have a core 10 that started the group together. And we try to go out. We've done a cruise together. We've had it to where the cruise line actually gave us a room to come together in and have a type like conference. And we talked and went through a book together and communicated. And like you said, we are raw with things that we talk about. What's the problem? What's happening? What do you want to discuss? Well, this is how we did it. We're not the professionals, but this is what we did to help our marriage. What did you do? Or what did you do? So we try to come together to encourage and empower one another. But, Ricardo, I get it going, so I have to pause and say, "Do you have something to say?" 'Cause
what she said.
Yeah, it is what she said.
we
But
laugh about that.
But one of the things I will say is that, it's just like having an honorary doctorate, right? So you get people that get honorary doctorates that didn't go to the school to get it, but they went through experience and got it. And so our experiences can be sometimes the better teacher than anything that you can get from a textbook or any type of classroom at times. So when you say we're not the experts, I won't say I disagree, but I say that we need to look at it from a different point of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To know that experience can be that best teacher and can teach you things that nothing in the classroom can ever teach you. So
Right. You have lived experience.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And I would say this, I've worked with military families over the years, and my hat's off, and that's why I always say thank you for your service, not just for what you've done for the country, but to be able to maintain your own family.
The sacrifice.
Exactly, from being
sacrifice.
deployed. I've seen families where both were in the Navy, and you have young kids, and you ship mama off 1 month for 6 months, then 2 months later you shipping daddy off for 6 months.
We done lived that life.
So now you have 3 kids at home. Who's going to take care of the children?
And imagine it being a blended family with that.
Yeah.
So I was shipped off on the ship, going away, and Ricardo and my ex-husband took care of the kids together. So
The devil is
the devil got played.
It's all right.
That's what the devil got. He
We
thought he
did
was
that.
coming to tear up some stuff, but absolutely not.
In the whole name of Jesus.
Absolutely.
I would call Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I mean, because the man hooked you up.
No,
that's not
different.
the one.
No.
I'm about to say, wait.
Listen, it's a husband, and then there was a little date time in between Ricardo.
Okay.
So that's about all my life too.
Because I'm my math.
No. No, I was married when I 18, just coming in the Navy, just leaving home in Italy. We married young, but that we ended up with 2 beautiful children in that, but it didn't work out. So we call this the blessing of the second.
All right.
Blessing of the second.
While she was deployed, you were working with the
father.
Yeah.
They made it work.
We made it work. We had to look at the bigger picture, and that's what.
Indeed. That was a
listen,
whole
say that again.
We had
Not about us.
We had to look at the bigger picture. It didn't have
Yes.
anything. Me and him actually had that conversation to say, you know what, this ain't even about me and you. This is about these kids. We want to make sure that these kids are in a healthy environment and not a toxic environment. They can see us getting along, and I think to this day, that's been a great benefit for us as parents and as well as children.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's in Washington State.
He's in Washington State.
But we've done so much together. His wife and he have come down and stayed home here at our home with us while the kids graduated from high school. We really we laugh about. They said Jada and Will Smith and his ex-wife and how they used to do things together. We were like, they ain't the only ones. You don't have to look that far.
Right.
God allowed us to do the same thing where we came together.
But they ain't no
entanglement.
No entanglement. No entanglement. None of that.
Yes, before they got crazy
Right.
about things. But definitely no entanglements. But we have been able to work together. All those kids, our kids are now 29 and 32. This is when they were 4 and 7, years ago. And from there, me traveling, so I was very active in the military and had to get up and go. And then he would get up and go. But my ex Raymond and I and Ricardo and his wife, we all had. I guess so, huh? I don't know what that's all about.
It's something about the R, baby.
Something about those R's.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. But it worked out for us.
But that is awesome, and that's always one of the challenges, I will say, in terms of working with families, blended families, and how do you get past that place where you say, this is about the children.
And
as adults, we were not able to work this out, but what can we do in order to come together for the kids? And so true hats off to you for that. That is such an inspiration. I'm gonna let you keep your jacket just because of that.
Right.
Yes. That is I really love it when I hear those stories come together, because people need to hear that is possible.
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's definitely possible.
Right. You don't have to divorce and be bitter and angry and everything else.
Amen.
You can continue to move along.
Yeah.
Because it happens. You know,
does.
as they say, life keeps lifing sometimes.
Come
I
on.
like that.
Come on.
But what
Life
do you
keeps
do?
lifing.
Exactly. But what do you do in the meantime, especially when children are involved in the process?
Yeah.
And when you can't show them that, hey, sometimes there are bad things that happen or things that we may not want to happen.
Yeah.
But how do we keep living
That's right.
in those moments, you know?
Right.
And that is amazing. So like I said, heads off to you guys.
The
Thank
level
you.
of
We appreciate
maturity is what I appreciate in adulting, because adulting is difficult.
It is.
But the level of maturity, and then also to be secure in your manhood. Both of you guys had to be in order to do that.
I mean, to this day, I shoot him a Happy Father's Day text,
Absolutely.
and he'll shoot me a Happy Father's Day text.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You know, we still to this day, even though the children are grown adults and they have children of their own now, that
So
we
y'all
still
like
have
co-grandparent too.
Yeah.
Oh,
we are.
absolutely.
We are. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
he's
And the
come down and been a part of kids' birthday celebrations and things of that nature, and the grandkids are like, okay, that's granddad and that's Papa.
Yeah, so they
So there's a daughter and a son?
Yes.
Okay, so who has the daughter? I know you
My
both
daughter.
now, but who is your
Ray,
daughter?
yes, Ray.
So is she married?
She has, and they both walked her down the aisle.
You know that was the question. I wanted to know. So that
did.
Really, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you that, because that shows not just what you're saying, but like the consistency in that.
Yeah, we
like
walked
that's
it
the
out.
application of what it looks like and how they've received it. That she thought it was important that both of you would be there as well, and that you guys could share that moment and be there for her.
And it was the father and daughter dance twice with him and then with me.
Yes, she sure did. And she was adamant because it was recommended that, well, how about one of them walk you halfway and then the other one takes you the rest of the way? And she was like, absolutely not. You're going to widen that aisle up, and the three of us are coming down the aisle together because they raised me together.
You know that felt good.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother
She
level.
my heart, man. She's really, for her not to have been my biological child. It's funny because Kimberly is telling me all the time that she got a lot of your mannerisms.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you. She more like you than her.
Yes.
She studied you.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
she definitely picked up more of him than her father, but he's in Washington State, so he was never there since they were like 4 or 5 years old. So he's groomed them. I mean, they've grown
She
up. And
probably even look like you now.
yeah, right, yes,
Your feet are long enough.
You know long enough, right?
they will.
But I like what you said in terms of the concept of both of them walking her down the aisle. She didn't conform to society with the whole one walk in.
must.
She said, no, you widen the aisle.
That's what she
You
said.
know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
you're going to make room for where I need to exist.
Come on.
You know, and that's a
Yes.
part of what relationships are all about. When we look at trying to accommodate what society says we should be. You know,
Right.
sometimes there are rooms that don't exist that we have to create.
We have to
ourselves.
create our
You have to create
Come on,
space.
sir.
You have to create your own
Yes,
space.
yes.
And just like the table that we're sitting at today.
Look here, I'm about ready to get my bacon and egg sermon. You understand what I'm saying? I'm about ready. You know what I'm saying?
You have to create your own spaces,
Yes.
and you don't have to wait for people to make one for you.
You sure don't.
And the space doesn't have to look like the traditional space that other people think that it needs to look at. And you can do it your way.
Absolutely, and that's
And
that's the story of our life.
Everybody consider us to be very unorthodox in a lot of things.
everything that we do.
In a lot of things that we do, we hear the words unorthodox. We hear the word anomaly, something that people don't normally see. For whatever reason, God allowed us to be that way for a reason, but it allows us to open more doors and be able to walk through more spaces because of the way that we operate. So,
And you've been genuine about it. And so
Yeah.
you've been in a lot of different spaces because you've
Yes.
talked military, then you've talked retiree, and then
Yes.
you've talked, then
Business
business
owner.
owner, entrepreneur, and then you're
Yes.
talking mentoring, and then community work, and then you're talking, other stuff, and
My
then couple
Lord.
and ministry. So, like, you've been in a lot of different spaces.
you
So
messed
it's
me up
similar.
when you just ran that list down. Like, I was like,
Sometimes we forget about it.
she talking about us?
You do know that I'm a psychologist. Like, come on. We listen.
We listen.
For a living.
Yes.
And we don't have to always take notes.
Right.
That's right.
I see that. So you can be those many different things so that no matter who you're around, you have some way in which you can connect to them.
Yes.
Genuinely. And they
Genuinely.
can see themselves in you in some type of capacity.
Yes.
Right.
And a lot of times I believe that God set it up that way because I tell people we truly can be in front of anyone. I mean, even just when we were in the military, I tell folks, well, I have no problem talking to men. They're like, how does she's always talking to men?
You
well,
was
I
in
was
command.
in that. Come on, in charge of men. And I was like, so it's difficult. Even in church, I tell Ricardo, I was like, man, I feel schizophrenic because they want me to be this quiet, submissive, quiet wife. Well, I am submissive to my husband, absolutely. I won't get that wrong.
Like that.
But exactly, unto my husband is what the word says. But I'm respectful to others, but I know how to hold my own with men, and he knows that. He's comfortable with me being able to do that. But sometimes in church, we want to separate that thing where, no, you're a woman, you can't be leading men, you can't be coaching men and telling men. I know what they can and can't do. But why did God allow me to lead admirals? Why did he allow me to be able to be in the face of an admiral, telling him how to run his entire, not one ship, but an aircraft carrier and a battle group? Right. So why should I have to minimize who I am and who God has developed me to be to appease man?
I look at it as we have light, and it shines in different ways, and that when it's time to go to sleep, I don't need this much light.
Come on.
Right. So I think it's more about understanding what you have and then where you should shine your light. And you don't have to always shine it everywhere that people want it.
Yes.
And you do need to shine it where it's needed, but it's something in which you can control. And so if you can't move or be in that space, that's just not your space to shine your light. There's plenty of other places for you to shine. So I don't like to argue with people.
Yeah.
Right.
Two things I'm not going to do is go back and forth.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm with you
I
on
like
that.
that. He always say that.
I don't do the arguing thing, but
quiet.
you just said what I said to her in a more eloquent way, but basically the same thing. I'm like, if that's their loss. If they don't want to take on the things that you bring to the table, if they don't want to receive those gifts that you have, then that's on them.
And sometimes that's not the table for you.
Right.
Sometimes we try to make ourselves fit somewhere. That's just not for you.
I don't see that.
That's how they say you don't cast your pearls before the swine.
Come on now.
Let everybody sit at my table.
Come on. That's it.
Why there's only two people at the table?
That's
right.
good.
Silly.
That's good.
Right.
You have to you have to keep your circle tight.
Yes. And
You have got to keep your circle tight. You can't you can invite people to see your circle. But that don't mean they in your circle.
Come on.
Well, look at me. Okay, but that don't mean you're a part of that situation.
Absolutely.
So I don't like to fight. It's enough work out there for all of us to do that you don't have to fight for work in one space. Move on to the next space. There will never be a lack of work.
My Lord.
That's the truth.
Exactly.
That's
Well, the fact that you two are in this
plentiful.
thing together, what is it like working together, though? Because I always tell folks that the running joke is, my wife and I love her, but I don't know if I could work when we laugh and joke about this all the time.
I worked with my husband
She's
before,
talking about retiring.
shortly.
I'm like, what?
Like, no, ma'am.
But we're both, in education, working with children, advocates and stuff like that, or whatever. And I tell anybody, my wife is when it comes to education, she's the smartest woman that has ever been because of what she's able to do for children and her passion. Okay,
She's good at it.
When I look at sitting down working with her, the thing is we talk about all of this stuff when we get home. But the question for me is, can I really work with this lady all day, then go home? And yet I have friends who are doing this,
That's not my ministry.
And I wonder, can I do this? I'm like, and I think, it's not that I would get tired of her. I think she would get sick of me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So how do you do this? How do you work together?
It's funny. It's funny that you should say that because the military kind of got us prepared for what we did after we retired. We were actually stationed overseas together at the same organization. Now that don't normally happen. Again, we're an anomaly. We're something different. So we ended up being stationed at the same organization, at the same command, at the same time. That's not supposed to happen in the military for the Navy because of obvious reasons that if something detrimental happened, that both of us could be a part. So it was a particular moment where, you know, she was on duty and she was running around. We thought we had a bomb scare, a bomb threat. So she was on duty, and so she was running around the buildings, making sure that to clear the buildings, to making sure that everybody was out of the rooms and out of the buildings. And I'm freaking out. So I know she's in there, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, "What are you doing? You need to hurry up and get out of there." She said, "Well, I got to do my
this is my job.
dedicated here.
Yes.
It's like I got to do my job to make sure, make sure that everybody is out the room."
That's right.
Out the Cape. I'm a whole.
So that kind of prepared us for where we are at today. So I lean on oftentimes. I lean a lot on her strengths, and she leans a lot on mine. And so what we look at is that when we're engaging in anything that we do, any problem that we have, I know that she has a strength of discernment. I know that she has a strength to be able to read people. So I rely on her to help me to read people sometimes instead of that. So she knows that I have a strength to be able to kind of be an observer and observe what people are doing, kind of watch how people operate and move. So we build on each other's strengths, and that we take that not only in what we do in ministry, but we take that into the business world. So anytime that we engage in folks, that's how we normally, kind of operate. And I think we've grown from that. We kind of developed a skill set for that, to be able to rely on each other's strengths instead of each other's weaknesses, to be able to navigate through that whole process. So I know that she got my back and I got hers when it comes to that.
And we have a common goal. Ricardo and I both have a common desire and goal in life. And I think the fact that we have become one, and that's not being churchy or marriagey or whatever you want to call it. We literally have intentionally become one. And we desire to achieve the same goals. So we go to work, we know what we got to do there. We go home, we know what we got to do there. Now, to be on the real side, sometimes he go in his office for 8 hours, and I go in mine for 8 hours, and I won't see him all day. And sometimes we intentionally do that to give each other space. Yes, we work in the same building, work in the same place, but we got 2 different offices. I may be downstairs teaching, he upstairs. I won't come upstairs for 8 hours because I want him to miss me sometime. We ain't going to be crazy now, say that we see each other all the time. And then, like you said, we come home and we'll discuss things as if we haven't seen each other and worked in 2 different locations all day long. So it may look like from the outside that they work together, they church together, they go out together, they eat together. We have created boundaries in that space and given him time. I don't want to overwhelm him because I'm a lot sometimes. And,
go ahead and be honest.
Yes.
It's good when people can be honest.
Absolutely.
I know I'm a lot.
I know I'm a lot.
2 hands, you need 3, 4, 5.
Come on, he does.
This is the other thing with that, is that she respects that, though.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So she knows that I'm a processor. And so sometimes when we go and she got all these ideas and everything running through her head and she's ready to, I was like, babe, give me a little minute. Give me a little minute. Give me about 15. Give me about 15 minutes. And so again, that's something that we had to learn. So she had to learn it about me. She said, okay, I understand now that my husband is a processor. He's not going to take all this.
She's going to make the move.
Exactly.
Come on.
I'm like, babe, let me
let's go.
And then sometimes, and like I said, with the complimenting piece, right? Sometimes she want to move too fast, and I have to slow her down.
Exactly.
Like, hold up, we need to think about this before we make this move.
Hustle us.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and that's where my submissiveness comes in. So I can't be. No, but you have to be. I have to know that. I have to listen to him because God speaks to him for us, and he's my safety net. So I may want to run into this fire and say all these great things God has given us, and he said, "Yep, I believe God has given us all of that, but there's timing, like you said earlier on." So he'll say, "Hey, let's work on these things first and slow this down," and then we know who we are. I know that I can overwhelm him, so I have to know that. Hey, let's pull. If I love him, I have to.
That though,
absolutely.
Everybody doesn't communicate to where you would know that that's what's actually occurring.
That's good. That's good. Yes,
and learning one another, and that's what I heard you all say. Just learning that process. I was just sharing with someone about 2 or 3 months ago, and we're just talking about marriage and growth and stuff like that in terms of what your spouse needs, the needs of your spouse, and the things that I kind of share with them what I felt that my wife needed when we were 28, 29. It's not what she needs
absolutely
at 50.
Not.
You understand what I'm saying? And so you had to look at that, and I use the example. When 9/11 hit, my wife was a classroom teacher at the time, and I'm still a protector, but I protect in a different way. Yes. So she was in Virginia Beach, I was in Williamsburg. When I heard that 9/11 was happening, I called her and said, leave the school and get home now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about those kids. Those kids didn't belong to me.
That's how I felt when she was running through them buildings. I was like, I ain't worried about them folks in the building.
Not at all. But now that she's an administrator, she's older. I know that things have to happen. She picks the phone up when stuff happens, and she says, hey, listen, we got a bomb threat, or hey, this is going on, or hey, I'm dealing with such, whatever. My thing is, you know the drill.
That's
you
it.
know, I do active shooter trainings, and so there are things that I know, and she knows, and so she's able to run that stuff down or whatever. She said, and I'll call you back.
That's
you know,
it.
And she takes command of her building. You know, police officers come. She tell me, you need to be here. This is what we're doing. You know, and she runs that, and I don't worry.
Because my sorrow has fortitude.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different level of protection that I have. You know what I'm saying? And wanting to keep her safe, but that's different from years ago. Like I said, at that point, because like I said, you know, there are times I may think she need to leave them kids at that school and come on home. Yeah, but
she told you she's trying to retire now.
But no, she can't retire. But look, this is where we are. You know, but you just have to know what your spouse needs, you know, what their needs are. And that's the challenge in marriage sometimes in terms of how do you build that process, how do you work through that, and how do you adapt to a growing person and what that person may need from you in this moment.
Absolutely.
You know? And I always tell folks, you have to really, you know, look at if your mission is that we're going to have a successful marriage. You can't allow those small decisions and choices in those moments, you know. And my statement is always, you got to remember that the mission is always greater than the moment.
Come on.
You know, and that's what you have to do. And when you look at it, you can weather these storms if you keep the mission focused on what the mission is.
That's
you know?
it.
And not just caught up in those moments.
And if you stay in the boat.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have. Listen now.
Because some people can't swim. And you know you can't swim. You need to stay in the boat.
Give them a life raft.
Right.
And there's sharks and everything else out there too. But in the boat.
And we've learned to keep when we've actually been prayed about it and heard. We believe we've heard it, but God always tells us to keep the issues of life away from the sanctity of what He has put together. Of the marriage. So we have truly intentionally made it to where issues that we know exist around us, children, finance, building, drama, whatever comes, they go in their little boxes. And when we decide as a husband and wife to engage those issues and how we want to operate with those issues, that's what we do. But if we see at any time that those issues are trying to attach themselves to our marriage and drain what we have, we'll shut it down. We have definitely took the stance that nothing can attach itself to the sanctity of what God has created in our marriage. And that has worked for us, because when you start allowing all these little issues that are in these boxes to attach themselves, you know, leeches. When a leech attaches itself and you get 10, 15 leeches on it, what it's going to do? They're going to drain. Exactly. They're going to drain everything out of you, and then you ain't got nothing left but your flesh. You know? And what happens with exactly? And what do you have with flesh? Sin. We go to we go to acting crazy. But we intentionally make sure that we keep things separate from our marriage.
So how do you handle conflict?
Between the two of us or other conflict?
We'll start with the first one first.
Okay. So between the two of us, we were just laughing and we had our first little spat probably in about 15 years, a real spat.
Hold on.
Here recently.
She's laughing, so it's all right now.
We done made that all the way up. We made that all the way up. All the way.
But I mean, whenever we have spats, right, one of the things that we try to do is that, you know, she go in her corner, I go in mine. You know what I mean? I have my little processing moment. She has her processing moment. And I'm more the processor than she is. So it may be a little bit later for me to come out of my corner than she would hers. But when we do come out of our corner, we discuss it. We talk about it and we try to learn from it so that we know that, okay, when this happens, again, this is a part of what you talked about earlier, right? That the 20-year-old her is so much different from the 50-some-odd-year-old her. So I had to. All of that plays a part in the argument
and how you handle it.
And how we handle it.
So now I know this is an intimate moment that I'm sharing my intimate secrets with her, or my growth with her, and same thing with her. So we learn from that, from just talking after we've had our discussion, after we had our little issue, and we I set aside.
And we ain't know what I want
time apart.
Yes,
I want to leave it where it was.
Exactly. Don't bring that thing back. And then you also learn it depends on the level of the issue. If we know it can be too hot, we might go out to dinner intentionally so we can discuss it in public. There's no yelling going on or anything. You can't be acting a fool, as we say, in public. You know exactly. Yes, exactly. So we'll sit down and have these deep conversations and shut that thing off when it needs to be shut off, and pick it back up when we can pick it up. So we really have tried to come up with different strategies
to assist you. Yeah, sometimes you need a distraction.
I love it. You just sitting there, just deep in the conversation. When it comes back, I have some water, please.
Yeah, it happens just like that too.
Like, why are you over here right now?
I gotta go to the bathroom.
But it's been working. And I like earlier when you said, how do you, over these years, like you said, we were 29, 30, 35. One of the things we tell some of the couples that we mentor and on our show that we do, we'll tell them, we talk about the fact that take some time out without even telling your spouse. We do a 90-day evaluation. I'll watch Ricardo for 90 good days. I don't tell him. I'm writing down my own little notes, and I'm seeing how my husband is changing. Because, again, we're not the same people, but I don't want the 26-year-old Ricardo I met.
No.
I'm happy to have the 50-year-old Ricardo, but I also need to be aware of who that 50-year-old Ricardo is and what he might have liked from me being all bold when I was 29, he might not like that at 50. You know, he wants that. You know, he wants something different. So I watch him and I see how he's moving, and the fact that he is so much more reserved. I have to address myself. If I say I love him and I respect him, then I'm going to try to adjust me accordingly because I want to be able to please my husband. Sometimes we're thinking, no, he need to come around and deal with what I got. No, he doesn't. He needs to be who he is. I need to be who I am, but we need to have a healthy balance when we're doing that. So we do that. He'll watch me sometime. I don't know when that's happening, and I watch him sometimes.
I keep my mental notes of watching you, but when I do,
share them?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. So, again, once we had this little spat that we had, that was one of my things that I broke out my mental notebook. I began to share some things with her. She realized some of the things that I was thinking about, and vice versa. And I just think that for her, like she said she is a lot to deal with. She's bold, and she knows that I'm more reserved and laid back. But I respect her boldness. One of the things that I always tell my wife is that I don't want you to be nobody but you, because you can't be nobody but you. You know what I mean? So at the same time, she knows that about herself, but she knows when to allow herself to be who she needs to be in certain situations. So I respect that, I honor that, and I always promote her to be that.
Yeah, he always tell me, go be great, Kimberly. Be who you are, who God has called you to be.
Yeah, so I'm
and
not
what you
intimidated.
said earlier, he says it often. If they don't like it, then guess what? There's somebody over here that does. And you move on to that. And so we're learning that even today, we're still learning what you said earlier.
Yeah, you have to. And you have to learn. If you don't like you, how could you expect anybody
else to?
Yes.
That's it.
You can't spend time by yourself. Why would anybody want to spend time with you? You have to learn to really understand that aspect. And so, as a therapist, I spend time by myself so that when I'm dealing with people, I know what's theirs and what's mine.
That's good.
So,
I like that.
You got to be able to not make sure you're intertwining those things, and that I'm not tainted. And so, if I have something going on in my life, I don't deal with those things because I'm going to be tainted in that way.
I love that.
I do. I love. We're going to have her on our show.
I mean, but that's good. I love that. I mean, because you deal in the rim, right? When you're dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of different things, and who knows, part of those things that you may be dealing with that you may have to give professional advice to may be some of your struggles as well. Never know.
But you got to make sure that you know what is yours and what's not
yours,
so that you also don't allow those things to attach to you.
That's good.
So, like when people say, "Dr. Williams, what would you do?" and I tell them that really, as psychologists, we don't really give people advice. We help them learn how to make decisions, good decisions on their own, but we don't tell them what to do, because when you come to tell us what's happening, you're telling us your side of what is happening. That doesn't mean it's the full truth. And so then what would you do, Dr. Williams? You can't do what I do because you don't wake up me. Right. So what works for me is not going to work for you. You have to learn how to understand yourself and what works for you specifically.
I do love that. All right.
It's not a one shop fits all kind of situation. No.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've done some workshops with churches and all before, and some of their marriage ministries and stuff, and having to explain that to them, because sometimes you have people that say, baby, you better cook for your husband, because if you don't cook for him, somebody else is going to cook for him. And the reality is, her food may not bless nobody in the house.
Come on.
He may be the cook. You see what I'm saying?
I guarantee
so really trying to help. Exactly. So look, you really have to make sure that you are understanding
the dynamic,
your role, and
your relationship, and how to balance that thing. And so, sometimes I get the shock look when I go in and I'm talking about building this marriage ministry, being transparent, and developing your own relationships, because Mr. and Mrs. Jones will not look like Mr. and Mrs.
Absolutely
Smith.
not.
They may have a wonderful 50-year marriage, but guess what? It's not about their marriage. Sometimes it's just about the process.
That communication.
They may not even be in the same room together. They may not even really exist together. You don't really know what's going on with them. You only know what they tell you.
What they show you.
Yeah. But not even what they show you all the time.
That's exactly right.
But things work for people. I had a situation years ago where an older couple,
they always sleep,
would have never known that they did not live in the same house.
Exactly.
She cooked every day. He would come get the car, take the car, fill the car up for gas. They go out on dates. They do this and the other, whatever.
They look like the special friend, but they was married.
But they were married, and when it was time to go home, he went home, and she stayed there. But the next thing, he was up first thing in the morning. He was at the house.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So they had, and I'm thinking to myself, that is absolutely crazy. So I was bold one day and asked her. I wanted to know, well, how did she say? We realized we can't live in the same house. We love each other, this, that, and the other, whatever. She said, I ain't seeing nobody here, and we still married. But we just need that space apart. If it's nothing else but sleeping in this place and I'm sleeping over here, because the next morning you're up. And when I say they are up first thing in the morning to the last thing at night, and I'm thinking to myself, that's expensive. But you know what? It works for them.
You cannot put a price on peace.
You
cannot put a price on peace.
That made me fall out the chair. That peace. I'm telling you.
Cannot. It works for them.
Yeah.
And she likes her place a certain way, and he probably likes his place a certain way. And it may have been arguments that were created over, disagreements created over that. And that's a way to just wipe that out. So if we don't have this one issue between us, we could be happy. Oh, well, we happy.
We happy.
Yeah.
It's that peace.
Or I've always loved this house and this backyard. It makes me feel great. I hate this backyard. I love it. I don't even want to cut it back.
Right.
But you know what? That's one thing that we can agree on. If we were just that one little thing, we could be happy.
And be honest with your communication, even with your spouse, because a lot of times we hide stuff and we don't want to tell. We were if we went on this thing here, I tell you, I'm going to try to keep it PG as possible.
Okay, in about 3 minutes and 21 seconds.
I know, but right. But sometimes we just not honest with our spouses, even when it comes to intimacy. The way I like things, it may be something that he may not be doing, and vice versa. But we so afraid to share. I have people laughing. I say it took 10 years for me to tell him, no, that's not the right place. This is the right place. And he's like, oh,
I ain't laughing.
Okay, I know, right? But we don't. I know, but we don't want to say that because for me, I'm outgoing, but I'm also a little shy in certain areas. Yeah. So being comfortable enough to share things with him like that, it made life a lot better for both of us. When it came to it comes to intimacy, but we can't put a boundary on what we talk about. We have to be willing to talk about everything and anything together,
and more importantly, be able to receive that. Because just because you're ready to talk about it doesn't mean the other person is ready to receive what it is that you're saying. So it's so nice to see where people are open to hearing and experiencing that. Some people are so defensive that especially when you talk about intimate things that are outside of some people's control. Sometimes they don't feel like they can do anything about. They're very guarded when it comes to that. So it's important in healthy relationships to be able to have those type of uncomfortable conversations. It leads to more comfortable moments.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if we don't mind us sharing about one of the books that we actually just released, We Won't Quit is what it's called. And we have 10 other couples that we're the visionary authors on it, but they joined us and we each wrote a chapter about one of the worst experiences that we've had in our marriage. So if you read this book, you have to be ready because it's raw and uncut. We are literally telling what happened at a time in a season during the process of our marriage and how we pushed through it and made it through it. And it's a good book. Everyone that's been reading, they're shocked because they didn't believe that. You look at, like you said, you see some people sitting there looking at you and you're thinking they had this thing and they've been throwing down for 5-6 years and you were friends at that time, not knowing they were having altercations behind the scene. It's all of that is in the books, about different things. Mother-in-laws. Tell people how they can get won't quit. They can go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. You can purchase it, and they'll send it to you in 2 days. All right. You get it, and read it and enjoy it.
I'm about to go get it.
Okay,
absolutely.
Have you guys come back and really talk about We Won't Quit.
Oh,
but before that, tell them also about your conference.
Absolutely. Ferocious Faith Conference is going to be in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
November the 10th to the 12th. You can actually go on our website, rfkoutreach.com, and you can pull it down and see everything about the Ferocious Faith. We have Cora Jakes that's going to be there with us. We have Jay Burnett. If you haven't met him, he's a monster. You can see them on IG.
He works in your space.
Yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, we're focusing on mental health this time for the conference for wives and husbands.
He's spoken to some of our kids before here.
Oh my goodness, he's amazing. But November the 10th to the 12th, Houston, Texas. Get your tickets now. We're going to have a funky good time, as we say.
We're going to do it big. We're going to do it big.
And we're definitely going to have you guys come back on Sunday Brunch so that we can talk more about this We Won't Quit and that conference.
Oh,
awesome.
definitely. Well, I've had a time at this table. I told y'all that we were going to have a good meal for you today. So, well, once again, I am Dr. Richard Mason.
And I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And thank you for joining us right here on Smooth 88.1.
WHOV, the essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.